Well, good morning, and welcome to Springtime in Michiana. I'm Mary Ann Kaur. I'm your host for this morning, and I can't tell you how happy and thrilled I really am to be here. You're going to hear this over and over again, and I'm sure many of you have been here in the past for this weekend, but you're going to hear how, for all of us on campus, this is really one of our favorite weekends. It's a weekend when we just get to say thank you and to honor you for all that you do for so many of our students. I usually come, I know that in the evening at the dinner, that's when you tell some of your stories. And I have to tell you, since coming back here to campus as general counsel in 2008, I've come to that dinner, I think 3 times now. I just often just sit in the back. I love hearing those stories. I think that they're so inspirational and motivating, and reminds me of what we're all doing here. I'm going to have to miss it tonight, because there's a reunion of Farley Hall. Farley Hall is doing its own little reunion, and I was in Breen Phillips next door, but a lot of my friends are back on campus. So I knew I was going to miss the dinner this year, and I was so honored and happy then to be able to come here this morning, where I get to hear the stories of some of the students representative of those who your generosity has helped so much. I've been asked to give you a little bit of my story, and turnaround is fair play, but I'll keep it short to make up for some time. I graduated here undergrad. One of the downsides about coming back to work at Notre Dame is that everybody knows how old you are, because you always say what class you graduated in. I graduated in 1978, so I was one of the first classes of women here, and I know I have one of my classmates, at least one here in the audience, with me today. I went on to law school. I went to Duke Law School, and somebody was just asking me why I chose Duke. Again, I say I graduated in 1978. For anybody around that time, that's when we had the huge blizzard that shut the school down for 5 days. You can see what's going on outside. All that was in my mind was go south, and I did. I've had an interesting career. 13 years in different places, a couple different places. 13 years first with a law firm in Washington, D.C., and then with a big corporation in Rhode Island, where I was the deputy general counsel, and got a call out of the blue to ask if I'd consider coming here as general counsel back in 2008. And I remember the person who was calling me, the recruiter. She kept talking about, it's all about the mission. We want somebody who's going to understand the mission. And it went on kind of for a long time, and I thought, I'm a capitalist. I don't know about this whole mission thing. I've never thought of myself as a missionary. Having gotten back, let me tell you something. I'm all about the mission. It's terrific. It's great to be able to be here in service, and we all do very much feel in service to these wonderful students, some of whom we're going to meet today. I'll be around afterwards. I'm going to try to come by the lunch, so I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more about what I do here, or how we work so hard to steward the funds that you contribute to help these students. But let's get right to them, because they're the interesting ones, and we have a couple of great students, 4 great students that we're going to talk to today. Hear from today. We've asked them to give us a little bit of background and some fun facts, and I just talked to them. I said, "You really okay if I give these fun facts?" But they assured me they are. So our first student that we're going to welcome to the stage is Marshall Hopkins. He's a senior from Anderson, Indiana, closing out his career here. Originally from Dillon Hall, as we like to introduce them here, all of our students. He's majoring, a little shout out to Dillon. He's majoring in science, business, and Latino studies, and he wants to go to medical school, plans to go to medical school. So next year he's going to do a post-bac year at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indiana, IUPUI, down in Indianapolis, so he can finish up his undergraduate's pre-med requirements and then on to medical school. And his fun fact is he is one of 9 children, and at birth he weighed over 11 pounds, and he's come out on top ever since. So please help me welcoming Marshall Hopkins.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Ms. Kaur. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the university, the Office of Special Events and Stewardship, and all of you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Marshall Hopkins, and I am so grateful to be here and share my story with all of you. I begin my story by telling you about the most important people in my life, my family. I am blessed to be a part of a large family, one of 9 children ranging from the ages 42 to 18 years old. I am the second to youngest and youngest boy, one spot away from being the spoiled baby of the family, that title belonging to my little sister Paige. We have always been a tight family. All of my siblings live within a 30-mile radius of my hometown, Anderson, Indiana. Family means everything to me, and family is what brought me to Notre Dame. I graduated high school from the Indiana Academy for Science, Mathematics, and Humanities, a residential high school located in Muncie, Indiana, on Ball State University's campus. It was there that I even first considered applying to the University of Notre Dame, at the suggestion of my best friend who graduated from the university last May. I was very hesitant. I'm not Catholic. No one in my family had ever attended Notre Dame, and I didn't think that I would fit into the Notre Dame family. I remember the day that I opened my acceptance letter and could not stop smiling, and my family was the first to find out the great news. While I was thrilled to be accepted, I knew that Notre Dame would be impossible to afford. My dad suggested that I consider other schools, ones that were more financially realistic. My mother, being the spiritual leader of our household, reminded me that we are a family that lives on faith, and if I wanted Notre Dame, we would find a way for me to get there. My first visit to Notre Dame was during my senior year of high school, during a spring visitation weekend, and as a prospective student, an alum that I met on the airplane told me some of the most inspiring words. He said, choosing Notre Dame is not a decision that you make for yourself, but a decision that you are making for your future wife and children. Those words and a memorable first visit made me want Notre Dame even more, although still discouraged by the costs of attendance. The harsh reality was that the cost of attending Notre Dame was more than my parents' combined income, and I knew I could not afford it. I checked for my financial aid package every single day, knowing it would be the deciding factor if I was able to join the Notre Dame family. And joining this family was one of the best decisions that I have ever made. During my time here at Notre Dame, I have seen growth in all aspects of my life, intellectual, spiritual, mental, and social, and I have been blessed beyond measure to call Notre Dame home. I am grateful for the relationships and the experiences I have encountered, all made possible because of this great university. One of my most cherished experiences was the Cross-Cultural Leadership Program, also known as CCLIP, through the university's Institute for Latino Studies. This past summer, I interned in Chicago at Casa Juan Diego's Summer Youth Program, and for 8 required weeks, I lived and worked in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood, learning more about the culture and the obstacles that Latino children face on a daily basis. This opportunity widened my perspective and has made me to further realize my passion for this culture and people. I am certain that I want to work in some capacity with this culture due to the personal fulfillment and satisfaction I have gained from this program in serving people. I will be forever grateful for the relationships I have formed and how they have extended a family that I now have because of Notre Dame. It's people like Dr. Karen Richmond, the Director of Undergraduate Studies for the Institute for Latino Studies, who I've had as my advisor and mentor over the years, who I thank for sharing her knowledge, her support, and guidance. It's people like Father Joe Capora, who is one of the kindest souls I know, and whose friendship I will always cherish. I had the pleasure of going on a pilgrimage with him to Mexico City in the fall, and it was one of the highlights of my Notre Dame career. I can only hope that one day I am able to be as loving and compassionate as dearest Father Joe. It's people like Mr. Tim Riley, who I had the privilege of meeting at a president's dinner this past October, whose generosity to my family and me means more than he could ever imagine. Tim made it possible for my parents to attend their first ever Notre Dame football game against Wake Forest in the fall, which just happened to be my last home football game as a Notre Dame student. To make things even sweeter, Miss Catherine Lane allowed us the opportunity to attend the President's Brunch, where I was able to introduce my parents to Father Jenkins. It is a memory that I could never forget, to see my own family share experiences with my Notre Dame family. Notre Dame has shaped and molded me into the man I am today and has laid the foundation for what I hope are great things to come. After Notre Dame, I will be pursuing post-baccalaureate studies with the intentions of attending medical school. It has always been my dream to become a physician, and being at Notre Dame has truly shown me the importance of helping others, reassured me of my desires to serve, and to also pay it forward, as you all have done for me. And for that, I thank you. I hope one day I am able to change someone's life as you all have done for me. Thank you from my family, whose appreciation is just as deep. Thank you from my future family, who will one day know the power of your generosity. Thank you for investing in me and my future. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for supporting me and making an unrealistic opportunity so very real. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the Notre Dame family. Thank you and God bless.
Wow, it's a good thing I get a minute before I have to come on up the stairs and introduce our next speaker. Talia Campbell is a senior from Dallas, Texas. She's a finance major, and next year she's going to be working in investment banking with Credit Suisse in New York City. She's also captain of the women's golf team, and we were talking while we were waiting for everyone to assemble, and I said to her, we have to get you out of here. You get home to watch the Masters. How about Jordan Spieth? She said, oh, he's my friend. I played golf with him. He's the one who got me in with my instructors. So I think that's her fun fact, right? She's a senior from Ryan Hall, and the fun fact that she suggested that I tell everybody is that she's also, in addition to everything else, a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So please join me in welcoming Talia Campbell.
Well, it's going to be tough to follow Marshall, but I'm so grateful to be here today and to be able to share my Notre Dame story with all of you and to say thank you. I come from an Irish Catholic, sports-loving family, so naturally, Saturdays were reserved for my sporting events and my younger brother's sporting events in the morning, followed by Notre Dame football in the afternoon, and then Mass in the evening. As you can imagine, there were a lot of Hail Marys said on Saturdays. Although nobody in my family went to Notre Dame, the Irish have always been our team. When I grew up, the only thing I wanted to be was a Notre Dame student athlete. When I was in 3rd grade, we had to create a resume about what our future will look like. I put on my resume that I had a full scholarship to Notre Dame, was captain of the soccer team, all-conference, all-American, and a national champion. Good thing I have 2 more months to accomplish those last 2. When I was 13, soccer became golf, though, after a teammate's dad noted that women's golf was an up-and-coming sport and that a lot of programs offered full scholarships rather than partial scholarships. I immediately saw this as my opportunity. This would be my end. This is how I would get to go to Notre Dame, because otherwise it wouldn't be affordable. So at that, I started to specialize in golf, and my grandparents, who I've always called Birdie and Par since I've been a baby, could not have been happier. So while other girls were shooting in the 70s, racking up the accolades, and taking college visits, I was just starting out. So I dedicated myself entirely to it, knowing that I had 3 to 4 years to catch them. That meant hitting bags of balls until my hands blistered, playing 36 holes and walking back when it was pitch black and the mosquitoes were chasing me, and layering up to brave the Texas winds. During junior year, when coaches finally could contact us, I was only concerned with getting an email from Notre Dame. While I was very fortunate to hear from every school I was interested in, and then some, Coach Holt's email was the highlight of my day. But there was a short period of time when I didn't think that I would get to be a Domer. There was only one scholarship available for our class, and it was going to another girl, not me. I had an invitation to walk on, but that would have been too much of a financial burden for our family. So with that, everything that I had worked towards and wanted was gone. I collected every Notre Dame item in our house, went straight to Goodwill, and then went to church to pray and to cry. and to cry some more, and to cry a little bit more. Being from a faith-filled family helped me to get through this devastation, with my mom and Bertie constantly saying that everything happens for a reason and that God has a plan. I prayed that I would have the capacity to love another school, even a fraction as much as I had loved Notre Dame, and that this cloud of hate and bitterness would go away. Fatefully, a scholarship opened up when one of the girls transferred, and because that financial aid became available, I'm able to live out my dream. That scholarship is the source of so much happiness for my entire family. Being a student athlete has been the greatest blessing. In the classroom, I'm able to say that I attend the #1 undergraduate business school. My group project partners and my classmates are the future leaders of the business world. Every day, we compete for those oh-so-coveted A's or A-minuses. My record on the golf course is a little bit better than going against them in the classroom. Around campus, I get to have my teammates, my other athlete friends, and of course, my dorm friends. While most seniors elect to live off campus senior year, I decided that I wanted another year living in Ryan, very convenient and friendly faces. I also couldn't pass up my dorm priest cookies. Every Tuesday, he bakes hundreds of cookies and opens his doors for all of the girls. His liquid brownies are the perfect bedtime treat before 6 a.m. workouts Wednesday morning. My time with the golf program has been the pinnacle, though. I've made my best friends for life through the program, and being the only player in my class and being the lone senior has allowed me to grow close with every single person. Some days, I'm an adopted freshman. Other days, I stand tall with the juniors, and when I want shotgun, I pull the senior card. I've traveled to over 40 tournaments for Notre Dame, and every single one of them has a very distinct memory for something that happened off the course, maybe on the course or at dinner. Freshman year, we had the opportunity to play Augusta National, home of the Masters, and go to the Ryder Cup, 2 things on every golfer's bucket list. Between sophomore and junior year, we traveled with the team and a group of alumni, benefactors, and supporters to Ireland. There's a 100% chance that we will still be talking about that trip forever. I think that there's a reference to Ireland every single week, and the freshmen and sophomores get a little tired of it. But how could you not when you meet such great people and have such a great time, even when you're shooting those high scores? This year, we went to a Taylor Swift concert after our worst tournament of the fall. Just like her lyrics said, we shook it off and bounced back in our fall finale with a historic finish. While all of these are great memories, what makes me so much more appreciative of them all is that it's been a family affair. Bertie and Parr and at least one of my parents have been to almost every single one of my golf tournaments, and I've always been welcomed with open arms by the team, the coaches, the alumni, and the fans there. I'm pretty sure that Bertie will be missed more than I am because everyone in the NCAA seems to know her and definitely hear her when I make a birdie putt. On top of all of that, coaches go out of their way to make sure that we get to interact with an ND club, different alumni, or different fans at every tournament we go to. Meeting with them gives us so much more pride when we get to wear the monogram and represent the university on the national stage. All of the great things that have happened to me have been because of the Notre Dame family. And this summer, I'll be starting full-time at Credit Suisse because the Notre Dame family we met in Ireland went out of their way to make sure that I got an internship there. From giving me advice, to jumping through hoops to make sure my resume gets a look, to even sending follow-up emails after interviews. They've blessed me with another opportunity. As you can see, your generosity has brought my family and me so much happiness. There's nothing more fulfilling than saying I'm a student athlete at Notre Dame. We will eternally be saying thank you prayers for everyone. And now I'm more motivated than ever to one day be in a position to give back so that maybe someone else's dream of playing for the Irish will come true. Thank you.
You know, another tidbit that was in Talia's little set of fun facts is that her long-term plans include becoming a Fortune 500 executive. And I think we can count on seeing her fulfill that dream just as she's fulfilled her other dreams here. So next, Michael Hunkler. He's born and raised in South Bend, and he graduated from Notre Dame last year in 2015 with a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and he'll graduate this year with a Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. He's going to attend Georgia Tech, the Ramblin' Wreck, this coming fall, where he'll pursue a PhD in combined bioengineering and mechanical engineering, specifically working on cellular therapies for type 1 diabetes. Now, as wonderful as that is, I think we have to question his judgment when I read you his fun fact. And I'll give you a little personal, as he and I were just talking about it. Michael, 2 summers ago, well, he and his brother wanted a Segway, so they decided to build one from scratch. It was made of wood and old bike parts, took a month to build, and cost $250, and it worked. They're now planning to build an upgraded version. I told Michael that a couple summers ago, I went on a Segway and spent the rest of that summer in a boot and a cast. So if he wants to get to Georgia Tech, I'd be real careful. I'd have your brother do the practicing on that thing when you. Please join me in welcoming Michael Hunkler.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Kaur, for introducing me. As she said, I am a master's. I'm working on my master's in mechanical engineering right now. Set to graduate this spring/summer. A little bit more about me. So I am from South Bend, and my friends back in my dorm affectionately refer to me as a townie. I was born and raised in South Bend my entire life, under the shadow of the Golden Dome. Notre Dame football games were my life when I was little. It was a big deal. And sometimes I actually got to go to these football games. But we didn't buy these tickets. Family friends of ours would give us the tickets. And my dad would take the tickets and cycle through and take one of us at a time. These are a lot of fun. Love Notre Dame football games. But some lucky years throughout my life and childhood, we actually got more tickets. And one year I remember specifically that we got so many tickets from people that our entire family was able to go. So we were lucky, but I bet you can guess how the football team was faring during those years. They weren't so lucky. So I am the second of 7 children. My dad is a high school music teacher. My mom raised us for 20 years. Before just going back to teaching 2 years ago, and she teaches at a local grade school in town, teaching 6th grade math and science and religion. My family is my life. I absolutely love them. We are a very close-knit family. Sometimes I partially attribute this closeness to how physically close we are at home, such as the fact that my 4 brothers and I share the same bedroom at home, and our bunk beds kind of resemble a jungle gym of 5 beds in the same room. It's fun. But I don't really think it was this physical closeness that has kept us so close throughout our lives and made us who we are today. I think most of it is attributed to the Catholic faith that my parents gave to us and raised us with. And I think that this Catholic faith has permeated throughout the rest of our lives in every other aspect. So as I mentioned, I'm the second oldest. I have an older brother who was born mentally challenged, and he's really struggled all his life. So I had an interesting role as second oldest in my family, with my older brother being mentally challenged. And I had to take on a lot of responsibilities as the oldest in my family, and primarily I just wanted to be a positive role model to my family. And this is just by example, just maintaining a strong faith in my life, pursuing academics as hard as I can, and giving back to others through service. So I also have 2 other brothers. They're both in college right now, and they're both in engineering. One is here, electrical engineering at Notre Dame. He's a junior. The other is a freshman at Purdue in mechanical engineering. And people ask us, why do we like engineering so much? What sparks that interest? I can tell you that since I was 5, I was drawing inventions in notebooks. And I have actually stacks of these notebooks at home that, inventions that I would think of throughout my childhood. Looking back through those inventions, I can tell you I was definitely thinking outside the box at times. Who knows? Maybe there'll be something someday. But and even in kindergarten, I was for show and tell. People would bring in the latest video game, and I would bring in a science experiment to show to the class, and I would demonstrate a science experiment in front of the class. Let's just say it started young. Science started young. My parents always encouraged us to build and to learn as much as we can. When I was in 3rd grade, my brother was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Eddie, he's the junior here at Notre Dame. And this dramatically affected his life. It really put things in perspective for me because it showed me how valuable life is. And I think that, he had seizures and various things throughout his life, and he really struggled with it. And I used to pray when I was little that I pray that his diabetes would go away. Then, during the first week of my freshman year of high school, after a whole summer of weighing less and less and actually entering high school at 80 pounds, I was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was very frail, but as you can see, I've probably since recovered. I'm not 80 pounds anymore. But throughout high school, I would pray for a cure. And I thought, what can I do to solve this problem? And maybe it was going on the walk for a cure or things like that, maybe raising awareness and praying. But I didn't know what else I could do. Enter Notre Dame into my life. Not the football side of Notre Dame, but the school side of Notre Dame. During my junior year of high school, I was privileged to be able to actually do research here at Notre Dame after school. And so I worked in the lab, and it was here that Notre Dame started to expose me to the world of science and research. I actually had the opportunity to present a lot of my research nationally and internationally during high school, and I started to realize when I went to these competitions how much work is actually out there and what can be done, thanks to Notre Dame giving me these opportunities. So when I was a senior in high school, it seemed to be a natural fit for me. Notre Dame seemed to be a natural fit. It's not because it was close. It was because it was everything I wanted. It had faith and it had academic excellence. I fit into the place and I felt like I was meant to go here. But one thing stood in the way for me, and this was the cost of Notre Dame. 1 year at Notre Dame was more than both my parents made combined, as Marshall said too. And so I knew that it was going to be a challenge. And so this is where determination and persistence kicked in, and I thought, I'm going to pay for Notre Dame on my own. And I applied to dozens of scholarships, national, local ones, and I acquired $12,000 to $15,000, but not nearly enough. And so at the end of March, during my senior year in high school, I got the big letter. That's what everybody wants to see when you get the acceptance to Notre Dame, the big letter. And my heart was racing with joy. But I knew that I had bigger hurdles to overcome. And so I actually think that it was 3 weeks later when I received the financial aid letter from Notre Dame. That was when I truly felt like I was accepted to Notre Dame and knew I could go here. So fall of Notre Dame, within 4 days I was recruited to the rowing team. I joined tons of extracurriculars kind of stemming from high school, you wanting to get involved in everything. I've since scaled back a little bit. I quit the rowing team during my junior year just to start to focus on other things. And one of these things I really was focusing on was science. More specifically medical research focused towards helping others. So after my freshman year, I was awarded a first of many fellowships here at Notre Dame, and I've been going strong at the research since then. A sampling of projects I've worked on over the years. One is Ebola research. I was working on that during my high school time, working on identifying counterfeit drugs in developing countries, working on imaging damaged tendons before rupture for athletes and people in the military. And most recently, I've been working on improving drug therapies for people with osteoporosis. A lot of these projects and opportunities that I've had have led to a few things, including a few published papers, national conferences, and most recently, the National Science Foundation Honorable Mention Award. And so throughout all these things, Notre Dame began to shape me. I lived in South Bend my whole life. I went to college here. I'm a townie. But Notre Dame, I think, helped me to explore the world. I went to Rome actually during my junior year with my brother Eddie, thanks to generous scholarship donation for that. But I don't just say exploring the world physically. It's not just physically going places. Notre Dame has opened up so many doors for me. I've been pushed by my mentors and teachers to explore, to read, to present research, and to inquire about the world around me. I've also been inspired by those around me to be, through various roles that I've served on campus, such as service commissioner to the homeless shelter, teaching engineering skills to younger students through my TAing roles, mentoring freshmen with choices for degree, what major they should do, through my peer advising role. And also just a commitment to faith, instilled in me by my parents and supported throughout my time here at Notre Dame by my rectors and my friends. I would say that Notre Dame has opened my eyes to the world, but has opened my eyes one other way. So back to the diabetes story. So I love to read about diabetes, and I didn't know that I could do anything. I wanted to, raise awareness, and I thought I could pray about it, but that's all I thought I could do. And so I was challenged by my mentors, and my abilities were stretched, and over time I started to realize through my science here at Notre Dame that I could actually partake in helping to find a cure for diabetes. And so this kind of started with an opportunity last summer where I worked at a premier institution to do cellular therapy for diabetes. And then I have plans next fall, as Ms. Kaur mentioned, to pursue a PhD in bioengineering at Georgia Tech to work on a cure for type 1 diabetes. As I sit back and I think and I evaluate my time here at Notre Dame, I would say one thing. I think that Notre Dame has made me fearless for the world. I'm incredibly blessed to be a part of the Notre Dame community and to be supported by generous people like you. This Notre Dame education is truly the most incredible gift, and I will always be grateful for your support. I'm also inspired one day to do the same, and I cannot wait for the day when I am able to give back to other students and give them this gift of a Notre Dame education that has meant so much to me. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Wow. Next, we're going to welcome Natalie Jackson. Natalie is a junior from Mishawaka, Indiana. She is a proud resident of Farley Hall, where she'll be an RA next year. She's majoring in psychology and pre-professional studies, and her future plans include, I always love this, attending medical school and pursuing psychiatry, neurology, or neurosurgery. She's coming here this morning to talk to us right before taking her MCAT practice exam this afternoon, so we need to wish her luck with all of that. Her fun fact is that she has semi-perfect pitch, and she plays 3 instruments in her spare time. Please join me in welcoming Natalie Jackson.
Thank you, Ms. Kaur, for that introduction. As she stated, I'm from Mishawaka and I'm a junior in Farley Hall. And I just am so happy to be here today and share a slice of my experience with you all. So being from around the area, naturally, Notre Dame has a very strong presence within a 5-mile radius, maybe further. But talking with employers and family friends and everything, I always get so many questions. How much do you love it? How are the football games? What's it like? Everything. And when that question comes, how do you love Notre Dame? I always think, well, yes, of course. Like, if I didn't love it, then I wouldn't want to be part of the community cultivating its growth. And if it didn't love me back, then it wouldn't provide me with tremendous opportunities to cultivate my own growth as well. But that simple yes doesn't even begin to skim the surface of what I've learned here at Notre Dame and what I've become, the person I've become at Notre Dame. So I just want to sort of explain what that means for me. So I grew up in Mishawaka with my mom and 3 other siblings, and my oldest 2 siblings are adopted. My mother is a single parent, and I've never met my father because my mother was brave enough to leave him when their relationship got abusive. I will always respect my mother for what she's taught me and her bravery in raising 3 children alone. To complicate that matter, my adopted brother has schizophrenia because he was hit by a car when he was 9 years old and was not held for the first 2 months of his life before my mother was generous enough to adopt him. My biological sister has bipolar disorder, and I did not understand what stigmas surrounded mental health disease until I entered high school, and it became a reality. For me, these are just my siblings, and the things about them, I loved the things about them, and they weren't defined by these diagnoses that they received from doctors. But to other people, I realized that that's not the general case. So I started to be more interested in sort of the mental health field and mental disorders in general. I also learned in high school, my junior year, that my family lived under the poverty line. It's something that sort of was always in the back of my mind, but I didn't understand what it meant until I was sitting in my government class and my teacher announced what that dollar figure was. And what that meant is people regarded me as poor when I thought that I was rich in the most important ways. But all of that aside, I decided that I was going to rise above that stigma and sort of make a name for myself. So living with my family was a bit complicated. My mother actually used to work at Notre Dame South Dining Hall, and a degenerative disc disease and heavy lifting ultimately rendered her disabled and unable to work out of the house. So we dropped from below the poverty line to way below the poverty line. And as you can imagine, growing up, I was very independent. And so in order to sort of cope with my family experience, I started to get involved. I loved school, everything about it. I got involved with art, music, and I played basketball for 9 years. I worked as soon as I turned 16, I got a job to help pay the bills and also have a little bit of extra spending money to go to the movies with my friends on weekends and such. And despite all odds, I was able to be awarded the position of valedictorian at Mishawaka High School. And during this time in my senior year, when this announcement came out, I started thinking, well, I'm going to college. This is a reality for me. And that's anomalous in my family because I'm the first to attend college and the first, obviously, to attend Notre Dame as well. But during my college application process, I was alone because nobody in my family had done it before, so I sort of had to figure it out. And I kind of got good at that. But what my mother always taught me is that I can. And what observing her experience taught me was I can. So I attacked those college applications and thought, this is going to work, this is going to be great, but I knew that I needed scholarships as well. So I found out I was accepted to Notre Dame actually on spring visitation weekend, and I sobbed. It was great. I was so excited. And as soon as I got home, I could see the happiness on my mother's face, but the sadness in her eyes when she realized that she couldn't help me go to Notre Dame. But I was resilient, and I applied to the scholarship programs, and ultimately, with the generosity of financial aid and the help of the Ann Bryce Scholars Program, I was able to come to Notre Dame for no cost at all, including my books and transportation costs. That was the moment that I realized how generous people in this world are and how privileged I am to have the opportunity not only to meet and speak with you all today, but to one day be in the position where I can help students like me get to a prestigious university. So I got here, and I wasn't knowing what to expect, and it all sort of hit me at once. So I experienced a couple different types of shock. It was culture shock, because I was different, and academic shock, because suddenly I was average. And I started to doubt myself. I worked so hard, like I thought that I was on the right track. And so it sort of took the Ann Bryce support system, where I have a mentor and peers who understand my background and don't question where I come from, for me to realize that I can. They had to remind me that I can. And so the potential that is facilitated by the Ann Bryce program and the opportunities that Notre Dame has presented towards me reminded me that I have wings and I'm here at Notre Dame because of that facet. I rekindled my spark, and searching as a freshman, I found myself as a sophomore. I use my background now. I don't resent it. And it's helped me appreciate those around me and the stories that are shared here, as well as helping me keep an open mind in all facets. Now I know there's nothing wrong with being different, because different means good. It means opportunity to succeed, to shine, to educate, to learn, and to grow. And all of these converge in a beautiful chance to pave the road into my future. Now I'm involved. I'm a STEM ambassador at Farley Hall, where I mentor and tutor younger students in science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm in Notre Dame's all-female a cappella group, Harmonia, where I'm assistant music director, arrange 40% of our music, and do a little bit of beatboxing. I'm also a pre-med student and will be in my application process this summer. And I'm involved in many of the pre-med clubs and programs that they have on campus, such as American Medical Women's Association, Dooley Society, and Notre Dame Medical Observers, where I shadow a resident 4 hours a week at Memorial Hospital. I was very fortunate to receive the opportunity to go to Nicaragua this past spring break on a medical and global health brigade. I'm a studio art minor, and right now I'm interning with an art therapist at the Center for Hospice in Mishawaka, where he serves as a grief counselor for the families who have lost their loved ones. In combination with the art therapy internship and the research that I do in my biopsychology lab working with the stress response in the body, I've decided to write my senior thesis on the relationship between stress and creativity and a possible use of creativity as a coping mechanism for stress in a clinical setting. Next year, I will be an RA in Farley Hall, where I will work to build community and share my story, hoping to find freshman me and let her know that it's okay. I've always loved reaching for the stars, and Notre Dame has effectively given me wings. I needed the shock to show me that my differences matter. I needed that chem grade to humble me and kick me into gear. And I needed Ann Bryce to affirm my capabilities and hold me accountable for what I came here to do in the first place. In combination, I needed Notre Dame to shape me into a professional young adult who has the passion and potential to make a contribution to society. My experience isn't perfect here, but I wouldn't expect that. And in its own way, it's been exactly what I needed, and it has been exactly what I wanted. Opportunities and growth here wouldn't be possible were it not for the generous support of donors and scholarship programs, and I want to share my utmost gratitude for making experiences like mine possible. When you break or bend metal and weld it back together, the weld is stronger than the metal itself. And I've been welded by the Notre Dame community and by your generosity. So after all of this, it might have taken me 3 years, but I can say yes, I love Notre Dame.
Well, it's clear that in the coming years I'm going to have to come to this session, even if I'm not invited, just to sit in and hear these stories as well as your stories. Thanks again. Let's give another round of applause to all of our students.